Okay, let's unpack this. If you've been following the big shifts in workplace tech this past year, there's this central tension we're all kind of grappling with. Is AI genuinely this life-changing co-pilot, helping you focus, manage your day? Or is it just another shiny distraction that actually eats up the focus it's supposed to save?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think we're moving past the initial hype now and really trying to look at measurable evidence. We've been looking at this pretty comprehensive field guide. It's written by a clinical psychologist, a researcher focused entirely on strengthening executive function. And it's very practical.
Right, and the core idea seems so simple but profound. The mission isn't perfect automation. It's about getting to a calmer brain. The guide actually says success is feeling less resistance at the start of a task and more control at the end. That idea, that promise of lowering friction consistently, that really resonates, especially if you struggle with that, dread of just starting.
Precisely. And the author frames it less like a magic fix, more like a practical way to get more of the right things done with less dread.
Yeah.
It really stems from understanding that the biggest block sometimes isn't ability, it's just that activation energy you need to actually begin.
So let's get fundamental then. When we talk about AI helping with focus, what's the core mechanism? What's stalling out in, say, a neurodiverse brain, maybe one with ADHD?
Well, executive function, it's complex. It's not a single thing. People often call it an orchestra of processes. You've got task initiation, planning ahead, working memory, controlling impulses, managing emotions. It's a lot. And with ADHD, that orchestra often misses cues. You might know exactly what to do, but flipping the switch to start, that can feel almost impossible.
Wow, yeah, that sounds like a constant, exhausting task. So the goal for AI here isn't really to replace thinking, but more like scaffolding.
Exactly. It's about lowering friction right at those points where the brain tends to stall. Think about vagueness. A task like write the quarterly report, that can just lock everything up. An AI assistant's value there is turning that vague thing into something specific, actionable, like, okay, draft the first 3 bullet points for the introduction. The guide really hammers home that reliability, not how clever it is what actually improves daily function.
That makes a lot of sense. If the tool's flaky, then the effort of checking it or fixing it just cancels out the benefit, right? So what are the main upsides the source material highlights?
Okay, 3 big wins. First, breaking through what's sometimes called the wall of awful, that feeling of dread and resistance around tasks that feel hard to start. AI can help map out that very first tiny step, making it feel doable.
And the second one, this idea of external memory.
Yeah, right. It's the risk that you get sucked into interacting with the tool itself instead of doing the actual task. Prompting, refining, getting these neat outputs. It feels really productive. But you might just be, engaging in really well-formatted avoidance. It's like meticulously organizing your desk when you're supposed to be writing the paper. Optimization theater, basically.
Feeling busy, but not actually getting the important stuff done.
Yeah.
And the second failure mode is that fundamental trust issue with large language models.
They still hallucinate. The guide is very clear on this, pointing to real-world evidence, including that UK government pilot we'll get to. They saw hallucinations, inconsistent quality. The rule has to be treat first drafts as drafts. And you absolutely must verify anything critical, especially numbers, names, key dates.
That verification piece feels crucial for keeping control, right? Not just outsourcing the thinking entirely.
And what's really interesting here is how this focus on reliability and lowering activation energy forces us to keep things simple. The systems need to be consistently simple, predictable. If they get too complex or clever, the friction comes right back, and you lose the cognitive relief.
Okay, let's pivot from the sort of clinical theory to the real-world evidence, because that's, where the rubber meets the road. We're drawing insights specifically from the UK Department for Business and Trade, the DBT pilot. This was a big test. 3 months, 1,000 licenses for Microsoft 365 Copilot, seeing how it actually worked in a large government setting.
And the key insight, the real aha moment from that study, is a huge boost for this idea of AI as an accessibility layer. Satisfaction was generally high, sure, but the neurodiverse colleagues in the pilot, they reported significantly higher satisfaction than their neurotypical peers.
Wow, that's not just preference. That sounds like solid evidence. It's actually reducing that executive load where it's most needed, making the workplace more accessible for different ways of thinking.
Exactly. It's like it externalizes some of that complexity management. If starting a task takes one person 3 mental steps, but another person 12, the AI is potentially cutting out those extra 9 steps of internal juggling and planning.
Let's look at the usage numbers, Because they were actually quite modest, weren't they? Around 64% used it weekly, but the average user, only about 1.14 Copilot actions per working day. It's helping at key moments, not running the whole show.
It really fits the definition of assistive tech, a Copilot for those specific high-friction points. And we also saw where people used it. Word, Teams, Outlook. That was where the action was. The lesson the source highlights, and this is key for any rollout, is you have to put these tools where people already are, trying to force them into niche apps like Loop or OneNote. The pilot showed that barely moved the needle.
Let's talk hard metrics, though. Time savings. The evaluation found it was a bit uneven. Summarizing things, drafting replies, handling long email chains, clear time savings there.
But here's the slightly counterintuitive bit. Simple things like scheduling or certain kinds of image generation, sometimes they actually added time. That happens if clarifying the prompt or fixing the AI's first attempt takes longer than just doing it yourself. A good reminder that ambiguity really kills efficiency with these tools.
And I really appreciate the honesty of this final finding. The evaluation stated it didn't find evidence that time savings scaled into measured department-wide productivity.
Yeah, that's a critical check on the narrative that AI will just magically make the whole organization faster overnight. It strongly suggests AI is great at reducing the individual's cognitive tax, letting them get tasks done with less stress, but that personal improvement doesn't automatically map onto bigger department-wide efficiency stats, at least not immediately.
So if the big find is it helps individuals feel more in control, but doesn't necessarily shift the whole department's output metrics, should organizations still invest? Is it just, I don't know, shuffling deck chairs?
Yeah. The clinician argues, quite strongly, yes, you absolutely should invest, but you need to redefine what success looks like. Don't chase broad efficiency numbers initially. Focus on individual outcomes, things like fewer missed actions, clearer briefs submitted, getting started faster, and maybe even reduced burnout related to that cognitive overload. If it improves someone's work life and cuts down their personal mental load, that's the win.
Which leads us right into the practical toolkit. The psychologist really stresses that fit beats features. We need to stop chasing the shiniest new tool and actually map the tool to the specific executive function gap it's trying to fill.
Absolutely. So for tasks inside your workplace, especially if you're already in the Microsoft ecosystem and dealing with sensitive info, M365 Copilot is often the go-to. Summarizing meetings, drafting replies using company data, and a big security plus the source notes. It isn't trained on your user input data, which is crucial for internal work.
Okay, but what if the challenge isn't integrating company data, but more about nuanced communication or complex planning?
That's where tools like Claude often get recommended. Think of it as the steady editor or planner. It seems to excel at handling complex text, like taking a big, messy brain dump you dictated and turning it into a concise, logical one-pager or project outline. It handles the messiness perhaps a bit better.
And for that crucial piece of just managing life stuff, capturing ideas on the go, which often gets forgotten.
Right. For general life and task management, tools like Praxos or Martin seem to shine. Their big strength is frictionless capture. You dictate a quick voice note, maybe text something, and it automatically turns into a reminder, a follow-up, a calendar item. The best assistant is often the one you can use instantly on your phone before that thought just evaporates. It reduces that invisible tax of having to stop, open an app, and manually log something.
Okay, let's get into the actual tactics the psychologist recommends, this coach, not a crutch idea.
Yeah.
This is where we get into specific prompting. I really like the body doubling prompts concept. It kind of flips the script, the tool paces you.
This is a really interesting shift. You know, body doubling traditionally is having someone physically present to help you stay on task. Here, the AI is the pacer. The example script is great because it builds in pauses. Okay, list the 3 sections for this report. Now ask me for the bullet points for section 1. Wait for me to paste them in.
So the tool actually forces a rhythm. It breaks the dread by demanding just one small piece at a time, keeps the momentum going, replacing dread with flow, essentially.
Exactly. It creates a structure, a bit of accountability, and related to that is the just do one thing method. When a task feels huge and overwhelming, don't ask the AI for the whole plan. Ask only for the very next smallest possible step. Like, what is the absolute smallest thing I need to do to get the first chart into this slide deck? It just cuts through the overwhelm and that tendency towards perfectionism that can freeze you up.
That's powerful. It bypasses that planning paralysis. And thinking back to the hallucination risk we talked about, the psychologist insists on a built-in safety check. verification loops.
Yes, you have to treat the AI's output as a candidate answer, not gospel. For anything really important where an error could cause real problems, you build review right into the process. Ask it for a second loop. Can you cite the source for that? Quote the specific sentence. Explain any uncertainty you have. It forces the model, and you, frankly, to slow down and check the facts.
So for organizations looking to roll this out, wanting to do it ethically, sustainably, what are the non-negotiable guardrails?
Okay, first, clear data boundaries are essential. You need enterprise controls, ensuring your private internal data isn't feeding the public model. That's paramount. Second, quality assurance needs to match the risk. The pilot flagged inconsistent QA, remember, so teams have to agree up front. Any AI draft going outside the organization, it needs a human check, period.
And the third guardrail sounds like basic good practice,
Yeah.
sustainability assessment.
Right. If an AI workflow isn't actually lowering error rates or reducing rework or demonstrably speeding up that specific task after a trial period, the advice is simple. Retire it. Don't keep using inefficient AI just because it's AI.
So putting it all together, based on the pilot and the clinical advice, what's the realistic playbook for teams?
It's very pragmatic and accessibility first. Step 1. Pick just 3 jobs to start. Don't boil the ocean. Good defaults are usually meeting capture, maybe inbox triage, and first draft writing. And crucially, the guide suggests labeling the project clearly, maybe AI for ADHD support or cognitive accessibility initiative. This signals it's an intentional choice to reduce executive load, not just a tech upgrade.
Step 2 is maybe the most vital for actually getting people to use it. Ship the prompts. Don't just give them the tool and expect them to become expert prompt engineers overnight.
Exactly. Give them short, tested scripts that solve a specific pain point, like, okay, when your team's meeting ends, paste this prompt. Summarize decisions, owners, and due dates, then write a 2-paragraph recap for the channel. People need resicans, not just a bag of flour.
And finally, step 3, train by doing. The evaluation showed practical, self-led learning beat formal training sessions hands down for satisfaction and actually sticking.
The suggestion. Things like lunch and build sessions. People bring one task they struggle with, and the goal is they leave with a working prompt that helps solve it. Very hands-on.
The vision seems to be AI becoming like central plumbing. Just there, in the background, inside, Word, Outlook, Teams, moving past the flashy productivity theater phase into just being genuinely helpful.
That's the goal. It becomes functional support.
Okay, so that brings us to a final synthesis. AI, when you scope it right, put guardrails in place. It's a powerful assistive technology. It's not a cure-all, but it can remove those small, everyday frictions that just stall out really capable minds. Use it to get started, to outline, summarize, capture ideas, but keep your hands on the wheel. Verify the important stuff.
And the core takeaway really is shifting how we measure success. The big win isn't always going to be some huge leap in department efficiency, not at first anyway. It's measured in individual control, reduced cognitive load, having more sustained energy for the actual work. That's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, connecting it to the bigger picture. It feels like it's about letting people use their limited best energy on the things that truly need it, the nuanced, human-centric work that only they can really do.
So maybe a challenge for you listening. Try the single loop experiment today. Take these ideas we've discussed from the source material, apply them to your very next meeting. Start it with a visible timer. When it ends, ask your AI assistant whichever one you use to draft a quick 2-paragraph recap. Decisions, owners, dates, then just edit that draft quickly. That small, concrete experiment, it can show you right away how this kind of mindful partnership with AI can start to give you back some time and focus.